How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man, Corpus Christi, your CBD guy. I'm here with Eric Rodriguez today. He's running for mayor. We're going to give him a chance to do like we have with all the rest of our guests, give him a little bit of intro, and then we're going to switch things up a little bit. Since yesterday was the debate, for any of y'all that missed that, we're going to have that edited and live streamed soon, putting all that on all our social media. But we're going to go ahead and ask Eric, after we're done with his initial intro, we're going to go ahead and ask Eric some of the same questions and to discuss some of the same topics that we did yesterday at the debate. So, Eric?
How's it going, everyone? Good morning. Jesse, thank you for having me. Appreciate it, man. I know we've been trying to get on here for a while, and we finally made it happen, so appreciate it. Yeah. So for those of you watching who do not know me, my name is Eric Rodriguez. I'm 32 years old. I was born and raised here in the Coastal Bend, and for the last 12 and a half years, I worked for the Department of Defense right down the road, NES Corpus Christi. 8 of those years have been with the Corpus Christi Army Depot. The last 4.5 have been with NAVFAC, which is Naval Facilities and Engineering Command, where I was actually just promoted to a program manager and one of the lead environmental protection specialists out there. And kind of what that consists of, a lot of people get like confused, like, hey, what is environmental management? And what that is it's compliance with the Clean Air Act, compliance with the Clean Water Act, storing and managing hazardous waste materials throughout the whole base. Also, when the need arises, we create environmental management and disaster response policies and procedures. Apart from that, I've been a leader for the American Federation of Government Employees, Local 1005 on the Navy side. You can look that up. I think you can Google that as well. And that's given me an opportunity to, be a voice for the workers out there, especially on the Navy side, to create policies also to help fight unfair labor practices and create other additional policies to create a safe working environment. A lot of people don't know this, Jesse, but a while back, I actually had to fight a very big case on behalf of myself and some other workers, and went all the way to the state merit board. And I think you can look that up right now. I think it's public information. I went through a 10-hour trial representing myself as one of the main presidents for the union on the Navy side. I went against 2 naval attorneys, and I won all 3 corrective actions. So that was a big win for me personally, and for, of course, the workers out there. We established some good policies out there. But I always say that, my favorite title is being a father, especially to my intelligent and beautiful 11-year-old daughter, Bailey. She's the reason I got involved in this race, and the reason why I believe in the future of Corpus Christi so much. And I believe it's time for a change. A change has to start at the top, which happens to be the mayor in this local race, and that's why I decided to run for mayor. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was a nice little intro. So I guess we'll go ahead and switch over to topics. Actually, I didn't even need my book because I actually forgot we had all these on the computer.
Cool.
Well, we had to do that yesterday. So, all right. So let's see here. So obviously, one of the biggest things that Corpus Christi residents are always concerned with are the roads. Everybody complains about the roads. We all drive on the roads every day. The construction drives us all insane. So some of the questions we asked to some of the other mayoral candidates yesterday was, road construction seems to be a never-ending battle in Corpus. If elected, what are some of the... Okay, so we're just going to give you a chance to talk about roads in general, but here's some of the questions. Road construction seems to be a never-ending battle in Corpus. If elected, what are some of the ways you would adjust this or expedite the process? Is there anything the city can or should do to reduce traffic, considering the commuters are constantly driving on roads under heavy construction? How do you feel about transportation options currently available in our city? Do we have enough options? If not, what will you do to increase those options?
So, great questions.
Roads, Eric.
All right. Yeah, so, 2 things I think that Corpus Christi is notorious for is the roads, obviously, and, of course, having bad water. So those 2 things that I want to, kind of fix our reputation on. I'm probably the only candidate that's talking about revisiting the industrial district agreements, because the next council is going to have that responsibility to look at that contract and, work with it. I want to reconstruct it where, the industries are going to have to pay more on their taxes. I want to increase that. I think right now they pay 60%. I want to move forward with some small increments, but make a big difference. Maybe say 70 to 75%. And what we do with that revenue, it goes back to our city budget, so we can make sure that we're fixing these streets on time, on par. That has to do with updating our infrastructure, which is a big platform part on my campaign. So that's one aspect of it, right? The second aspect is, I think we're going to start getting on the road with these roads, especially with our new road director that just came in with Peters. I know he brought him in, doing a good job right now. I think we just got to give him a little bit of time. And another thing I want to educate some of the voters on is the current council did nothing with these roads. This is actually from 2 councils ago that passed these bonds. We're working on bonds that are from 2 councils ago. It has nothing to do with, they can't take any credit from it, you know? So I guess that kind of gives us the president's to, okay, this moving forward, we got to stay on top of this. We got to use the same type of formula that council a couple years ago did to make this happen, but currently. As far as transportation, I think we could look into some innovation. One thing that I'm pretty big on is using the bullet trains. I know that they're starting to prove it up north, and I think it's going through San Antonio. I would be 100% in for that if if the citizens wanted that. We could be a destination stop for tourists that could stop here and then go through the East Coast or West Coast. I'd be 100% for that, man, and that would increase a lot of our revenue here for tourism.
Awesome. All right. And then the next hot topic that is always, this is another one that's constantly in the news, and I've met with some people that know a hell of a lot about this, and I've actually gotten a hell of an education on this. So water treatment and resources. With water boils in most residents' recent memory, if elected, what are some of the ways you would address the worries about the safety of our drinking water? With the desalination plant on the minds of everyone, what do you think are some of the advantages and disadvantages of our current plan? Do you think there are alternative options for future droughts? If so, what? And how do you feel about our drainage system and effectiveness? So, water treatment, desal, and our general just water safety and everything else.
Okay, so first off, I would say that water treatment facilities right now are not up to par. They haven't been up to par for a very long time. And obviously they're not because we just got sued by the EPA.
Yeah, we just got fined like what?
It's gonna,
$19 million over the next 10 years or something?
It's actually $750 million that's going to take to get us back
to fix everything.
To get in compliance. That goes on taxpayers.
Yep.
So there we go again. Utility rate going up high. I believe we're one of the highest utility rates already in Texas. So this is what I do for a living. I'm an environmental protection specialist. Water program is one of my backgrounds, fields of specialty. So when I talk about desalination, this is what I say. Okay, so there's pros and cons. We know that. Obviously, the current plan is ineffective. Environmentally, it's irresponsible. Financially, it's irresponsible. Environmentally, it doesn't work for us because they want to dump the byproduct, which is brine, which is basically a hazardous waste that's full of high levels of salinity, metals, and other hazardous waste into our bay. A lot of people do not know that our bay only replenishes itself once a year. So they're trying to say, like, it's going to be okay if we dump that, brine into our bay. It really isn't, because it's just going to stay there, stay stagnant. And what happens is, from just the shrimp to crabs, it's like the whole ecosystem gets affected. That ruins the fishing. Of course, once you go through that, our tourism starts taking a big hit. You know what I mean? Because that we count on a lot of our hot taxes to be off of fishing, the bayfront, all that good stuff. So that makes a tremendous effect on that. As far as the financial aspect of it, the current plan, they say that it's for everybody. It really isn't. We know that for a fact already. 70 to 75% is going to be going to industrial use, and that's what the actual drought prevention's for. It's really not for the residents. It's for the industrial uses, because when we go into a drought, they're restricted as well. So then their processing and all their stuff that they got to do comes to a halt. So that doesn't really affect the citizens. It just says, hey, you can't really water your grass that much or wash your car. But when it comes to the industries, they got to halt a lot of their, their work and their processes. So it's really for them. For the citizens, we're good for another 59 years. So I don't see why we need to make a decision on our long-term water resources when we have 59 years still to find a better plan. So that's just my aspect on it.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, the next one. It's always on the topic of everybody's mind. Quality of life and safety. According to citydata.com, Corpus Christi has consistently had a significantly higher rate of crime than the national average. In some cases, such as violent crime, rapes, and assaults, are almost double the national average. As an elected official, how would you address this? Many leaders throughout the city are saying we are understaffed with officers. Do you agree? Why or why not? How do you feel about the state of our parks and attractions? What would you change, if anything?
Great question. I've been getting asked this a lot also. So yes, I do believe we're understaffed. We're actually been understaffed since, I believe, the 1990s. And one thing that the current mayor has always said is he's been around since longer than I've been alive in local politics, which is true. He's been around since 1985 in local politics, which is about a couple years older than me. But we still have the same amount of officers since then. So that's kind of a problem, especially with the leadership, right? So right now we're operating with, I believe we're at third under national standards with police officers. And one of the things that I want to help fix that is, and the other candidates are not talking about this because they're big industry, special interest funded, so they don't talk about this type of thing. But I want to talk about slowing the growth of Corpus Christi, because what happens is we keep building like all these like London is what is London
we keep annexing
and moving too far out, and what happens is the person per square mile starts increasing, but our police department doesn't. So that means longer times on your response times for the cops to come out to you. And I don't know about you, man, but if I'm like far out there and I get into somebody's breaking into my house and I call, it takes an hour to get there. You might as well just do it yourself. You have to defend yourself, Second Amendment. So, so I think that's a huge issue that needs to be worked on, and that's what I'm trying to work on, to revitalize inward in the city, forgotten parts of the city like Flower Bluff. I talked about that at the Flower Bluff Forum, of course, like Hillcrest, and, just revitalizing and focusing on redeveloping inward in Corpus Christi. Slow the growth outside. A lot of the developers that are probably watching don't like that, I know. But that's what we got to do responsibly so we can help grow our firefighters and, of course, the police department, in a good time, so we can make sure that everybody's properly staffed and we got good response times for our citizens, keep them safe.
Awesome. And how about the parks and local attractions? I know that was something a lot of people touched on yesterday. So like our local parks and that kind of stuff.
As far as like increasing them?
Yeah, like the city council, like as far as maintaining them, there's been lots of ideas where they've talked about, like the city council a couple of weeks ago planted a whole bunch of trees. Mm-hmm. One of the thoughts that one of the other candidates had come up with is like, why don't we plant, or why don't we do something more with the parks where it encourages like local fruit trees, mm-hmm. or be doing local shade trees. Right. Shade trees was another big one, because those kind of things, instead of just planting something that's pretty, now you're planting something that's beneficial to the area as well, because especially living in an area like this, shade's such an issue in Corpus. And then fruit, what?
Who doesn't like fruit? Yeah.
Well, and so I didn't know if you had any thoughts on the local parks and stuff like that, maybe ways to improve them, or maybe we need to allocate resources in a different direction, concentrate on certain parks versus others, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, those are great ideas. Like you said, the shade trees, fruit trees, that's pretty cool. It attracts, like you said, more tourism, I believe, also. And it also helps Corpus Christi be a little bit more family-friendly, because, there's a lot of growing families here now, which is pretty cool. I think what we can do is probably create some more parks. I know people don't like that idea also, but I'm all about making Corpus Christi very family-friendly also. So I would be for that, and, increasing the budget in the parks and Rex department. And I'm the only candidate that's willing to do that. Once again, hey, quick, fast, and effective way to do that: reconstruct the industrial district agreement. Make them pay some more parts of their taxes, not just from the taxpayer every time. I'm fighting for the working class, everyday citizen that, he's been getting the short end of the stick this whole time, where taxes are on their back. The city's built on the taxpayers, their back. So I think it's only appropriate to go and ask, the industrial district, hey, let's increase some of y'all's taxes, man. Help the city out. You're part of the city. We're supposed to be all just one team. So I think we can do that pretty fast and quick with that. And another important thing I want the viewers out there to know is what's happening is when they come to the table and they sign these contracts, when they step away from it, they come back, they bring their attorneys, and they say, hey, we want to go ahead and reevaluate, our equity and our property, our land and all that stuff. And then they end up getting out of that contract. So one of the things I want to work on is, okay, we're going to put it in there. The stipulations are, once you sign the contract, you cannot come back. It's a done deal. And if you do, you're annexed, and you're 100% paying everything just like everybody else. So I think we need a leader that's actually going to take that charge and, enforce those things, especially when we need them. Help increase our budget.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and then another one we have to see that everyone sees almost every day: homelessness. Mm. Can or should Corpus Christi do more to increase its affordable housing stock? If so, how would you suggest to do it? Homelessness seems to be an ongoing and increasing problem here in Corpus. What are some of the steps you think the city should take to address it?
Awesome question. So the first thing is, the city has to stop passing, the buck down to all these different agencies. We have multiple agencies here in Corpus Christi that I guess are, and some of them doing a good job. They're taking in the homeless and they're creating programs and whatnot for the homeless. And there's some of them are getting a lot of money to do that, right? And we don't really know where all that's money going. When I've spoken to homeless individuals before, I ask them, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you face? One of them is, it does not make sense to me, is when they have to go stay somewhere, they're getting charged like $7 to $8 that night to stay somewhere. A majority of the time, homeless people do not even have money. So I was like, okay, so what happens if you don't have the money? We don't stay there. Okay, so that's a bridge that needs to be like a gap that needs to be bridged there. So that's one thing I'm looking at. I would say overall, as a whole, the city has to take ownership of the homeless issue, the homeless problem. We have to create one comprehensive general plan that everybody's going to have to fall in line with and follow, the different agencies, and make sure that the money's being allocated correctly through those agencies, is being used properly. And, like I said, it's going to take management, leadership, and supervision to make sure that everybody's doing their part. That's the only way that we're going to get this thing, I guess, lowered, the homeless population. It's increasing almost every week as well. One of the other things that I was told by one of the homeless individuals is the reason why they're attracted to Corpus Christi is the weather. It's moderately hot or kind of warm here majority of the time. We all know that.
You don't have to worry about freezing to death down
exactly.
here.
That's why the majority come from up north down here. So once again, so I think that's where it starts. We got to take a hold of it and be like, okay. And one of the, I think it's called HIP. Mm-hmm. They're really good agency. I just think they need more help also. So I think by working with them and creating a one comprehensive plan, like I was telling you, city taking ownership, managing the whole program, making sure everybody's doing their part to get this done. And I think that's one way we can fix it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much all we got a chance. That's pretty much all the questions we had a chance to go over yesterday. I know we had a few other things as backup as far as like tax rates and affordable housing. I think we got through most of that, local economy. So I guess then the next best thing is what's the best way for everybody to get a hold of you?
2 ways.
If they've got any more questions?
Yeah, 2 ways. One, the way Jesse got a hold of me, which is pretty fast. I hope I was fast responding to you, man. Is on Facebook at CC Today Tomorrow. And, of course, at our website at www.cctodaytomorrow.com. I don't have it on here. I thought it did. But you can go to our website and check it out there. Like I said, I try to respond probably like a good within 5 to 20 minutes on Facebook. I'm pretty fast. Website takes me a little bit longer because it goes through my emails. I got to get that stuff. But, yeah, feel free to shoot me any messages. I'll have them open book. Like I told Jesse, ask me whatever you want. I believe in 100% transparency and integrity, and I hope I bring that back to the office. I gotta excuse me, I'm waking up a little bit still.
We're all still waking up. It's an early morning.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, all right. Any last final thoughts then, Eric?
I just want to say, hey, man, thank you again. I know we were trying to get this together for a while, and I appreciate you coming up here early on a Sunday morning and giving me the opportunity to talk about a little bit about the campaign, the race.
Awesome. It was good to have you.
Appreciate it.